Everyone knows the Thanksgiving story of 1621, when Pilgrims and Wampanoag shared a harvest feast. But almost nobody learns what happened 54 years later in 1675, when Massasoit's son led a desperate war against English colonists who had betrayed every promise, and after he was defeated, the English made an example of him for decades as a warning. Ready to find out how the Thanksgiving alliance turned into one of the most devastating conflicts in American history? After 1621, relations remained relatively peaceful during Massasoit's lifetime, but English settlements kept expanding onto Wampanoag land, and more colonists arrived every year, slowly surrounding indigenous territories. When Massasoit died in 1661, his son Metacom, called King Philip by the English, became Sachem and inherited a situation where land was being taken through deceptive sales. English courts prosecuted indigenous people under colonial law, and the balance of power had shifted dramatically. By 1675, English colonists outnumbered native peoples in New England, and colonial governments were forcing tribes to give up weapons, surrender sovereignty, and convert to Christianity. Metacom saw that without resistance, they would lose everything within a generation. In June 1675, after 3 Wampanoag men were executed by English authorities, Metacom launched King Philip's War, a desperate attempt to push back English expansion and preserve indigenous independence in New England. Metacom united multiple tribes, including Nipmuc and Narragansett, in coordinated resistance. They destroyed dozens of towns, and at one point had damaged 12 of 90 English towns, bringing the colonies to a crisis point. This was proportionally one of the most severe conflicts in American history. Approximately 600 English colonists lost their lives, but thousands of native people were lost to conflict, disease, and starvation, and hundreds more were enslaved and sent to the Caribbean. The English eventually prevailed through superior numbers, better weapons, and by turning some native groups against others, the Mohegan and Christian praying Indians fought alongside the English, showing how colonizers exploited divisions. In August 1676, Metacom was tracked down and killed. His remains were publicly displayed in Plymouth for 2 decades as a warning to any other indigenous people who might resist. Metacom's wife and young son were enslaved and sent to the Caribbean. Along with hundreds of other Wampanoag, the English attempted to eliminate the Wampanoag entirely through violence, enslavement, and forced displacement. After King Philip's War, native power in New England was essentially broken. Surviving communities were confined to small areas. Many fled to Canada.